Everyone tells you to buy a Toyota RAV4 or a Honda CR-V, but here is an unexpected fact. That safe choice is a one-way ticket to a financial prison built by arrogant dealers and massive markups. Right now, there are 5 heavily discounted alternatives sitting on dealer lots waiting for you. But be careful. Pick the wrong one and that massive discount will cost you thousands in brutal engine repairs. Which one is a genius financial move and which one is a trap wearing nice paint? You are about to find out. If you want to know the absolute smartest way to avoid the Toyota tax without buying a ticking time bomb, you need to look at the oldest vehicle in this segment. The Mazda CX-5 has been on sale in its current generation for so long that it practically qualifies for a historical license plate. Mazda dealers are currently desperate to sell you their newer, shinier SUVs like the CX-50, which means the CX-5 is sitting in the corner with aggressive manufacturer incentives, low APR offers, and dealers who are actually willing to negotiate. But the real reason you buy a CX-5 is what is underneath the sheet metal. While every other automaker was busy shrinking their engines, bolting on turbochargers, and forcing continuously variable transmissions into their cars to hit fuel economy targets, Mazda refused. The base engine in the CX-5 is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder paired with a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. There are no rubber belts waiting to snap in a CVT. There is no highly stressed, tiny turbocharger waiting to fail at 80,000 miles. It is an incredibly simple, proven powertrain that will happily run for 200,000 miles if you just change the oil and keep the fluids fresh. And this is where things get expensive for the competitors. If you keep a car for 10 years, the CX-5 will quietly save you thousands of dollars in major repair bills simply because the parts that usually break on modern cars do not exist on this one. It also handles better than anything else in its class. The steering feels heavy and deliberate, the suspension is tuned for actual driving rather than just floating over pavement, and the interior materials in the premium or carbon edition trims make a RAV4 feel like a rental car. But there is a catch, and it's a big one. Because this architecture is so old, the packaging is terrible. The back seat in the CX-5 is cramped. If you have rear-facing child seats or tall teenagers, they are going to hate you. The cargo space is noticeably smaller than a CR-V, and the fuel economy is uninspiring. You will be lucky to see 26 miles per gallon in mixed driving, which feels downright ancient compared to the 38 miles per gallon you can easily pull in a CR-V hybrid. Also, the infotainment system is not a touchscreen while driving. You have to use a rotary dial on the center console. Some owners love the tactile feel of the dial, while others complain that using Apple CarPlay with a knob feels like trying to paint a house through a mail slot. If you prioritize space and fuel economy, walk away. But if you want a reliable, upscale, sharp-handling SUV that you can buy right now below MSRP, the CX-5 is the best-kept secret in the segment. If the Mazda is for the driver who wants to corner, the completely redesigned Subaru Forester is for the buyer who wants to survive a blizzard while carrying a golden retriever. Subaru completely redesigned the Forester for the 2025 model year, and that carries right into 2026. They stiffened the chassis, added more sound deadening, and updated the exterior styling to look a little more truck-like and a little less like a glass box. But underneath, it is still very much a Forester. It uses a revised version of Subaru's 2.5-liter naturally aspirated flat-4 boxer engine making 180 horsepower. It is paired with a continuously variable transmission and Subaru's legendary symmetrical all-wheel drive system, which is standard on every single trim. Let us start with the good news. The outward visibility is incredible. Sitting in the Forester feels like sitting in an aquarium. There are no massive blind spots, the windows are huge, and it is incredibly easy to park in a tight city space. The ride quality is excellent, soaking up broken pavement and speed bumps far better than the stiffer Mazda CX-5 or the heavier Toyota RAV4. And when it comes to resale value, Subaru holds its ground against Toyota and Honda. If you buy a Forester premium trim, take care of it, and sell it 5 years later, you're not going to take a massive depreciation hit. But this is where the brochure quietly leaves the room and the reality of daily driving sets in. The Forester is slow, painfully slow. Merging onto a busy highway with 4 passengers and a trunk full of luggage requires planning, patience, and a heavy foot. When you put your foot down, the engine makes a lot of noise, the CVT groans, and the speedometer needle slowly suggests that you're accelerating. Subaru has improved the CVT to simulate traditional gear shifts, which helps avoid that constant droning noise older models had, but it still rubber bands at low speeds in city traffic. Some owners report a slight hesitation when stepping on the gas from a dead stop, which can be annoying when you're trying to dart into a roundabout. The bigger complaint inside the cabin is the new 11.6-inch vertical touchscreen. Subaru decided to bury the climate controls inside the screen. If you want to turn on your heated seats or adjust the fan speed, you have to look away from the road and tap a piece of glass. In a vehicle designed for cold weather and practicality, forcing drivers to take off their winter gloves to adjust the heater is a genuinely stupid engineering choice. The Forester Premium is a fantastic buy for the snowbelt and dirt roads. Just do not expect it to raise your pulse and prepare to be slightly annoyed by that touchscreen every winter morning. Now we arrive at the trap. If you drive past a Nissan dealership right now, you will see a sea of Rogues. You will see lease specials advertised on television, and you will see aggressive dealer discounts trying to get you in the door. On paper, and during a 20-minute test drive, the Nissan Rogue feels like a brilliant purchase. The exterior styling is sharp. The interior is genuinely luxurious on the SL and Platinum trims. Nissan uses what they call zero-gravity seats, and I am not joking when I say these are some of the most comfortable front seats on the market. It rides beautifully, the doors open incredibly wide, making it easy to load child seats, and the cargo space is excellent. It feels like a smarter, more premium RAV4. And then you open the hood. A few years ago, Nissan ditched their reliable but boring 2.5-liter engine and replaced it with a 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine featuring variable compression technology. They call it the VC Turbo. Variable compression is an absolute marvel of engineering. Inside the engine block, there's a complex multi-link system attached to the crankshaft that literally changes the stroke of the pistons while you are driving. If you are cruising on the highway, it raises the compression ratio to save fuel. If you step on the gas to pass a truck, it lowers the compression ratio to accommodate the boost from the turbocharger. It is brilliant on a whiteboard. It is a terrifying thing to own when the warranty expires. Putting moving physical linkages inside an engine block to constantly change the compression ratio is incredibly complex. And complex things break. The federal government has already opened investigations into these engines for main bearing failures and catastrophic engine seizures. While Nissan claims they are addressing the issues, the reality is that replacing a VC turbo engine out of warranty will easily cost you $6,000 to $8,000. And that is before we even talk about the transmission. Nissan still pairs this highly complex engine with their continuously variable transmission. While their newer CVTs are much better than the infamous units from 10 years ago, pairing a high-stress variable compression turbo engine with a CVT is a recipe for long-term financial anxiety. So, what do you do with the Nissan Rogue? The answer is simple. Lease it. Do not buy it. Score a heavily subsidized lease where you only pay for the depreciation over 36 months, and the Rogue is a fantastic daily driver backed by a full factory warranty. You get all the comfort and space without the long-term repair risk. But financing this car for 5 or 6 years is a terrible idea. The discount you get today will be eaten alive by the repair bill tomorrow. If you want the space of the CR-V but refuse to pay the Honda Premium, you will inevitably end up looking at the Hyundai Tucson and its corporate sibling, the Kia Sportage. Hyundai just refreshed the Tucson for the 2026 model year, and they did something miraculous. They listened to owner complaints. The previous version of the Tucson featured a center console that was nothing but a massive slab of glossy black plastic with capacitive touch buttons. It was a nightmare to keep clean and incredibly frustrating to use while driving. For the refresh, Hyundai threw that in the trash and brought back physical buttons and knobs for the climate and audio controls. They also updated the screens, making the cabin feel like a premium luxury vehicle. But the real buying decision with the Tucson comes down to what is under the hood. The base engine is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. It makes 187 horsepower. It is entirely adequate, but it is unrefined. It sounds raspy when you push it, and it struggles to move the heavy Tucson with any real urgency. More importantly, the city fuel economy is pretty poor for this segment, hovering in the low 20s. The version you actually want is the Tucson Hybrid. Hyundai pairs a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine with an electric motor and a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. Unlike the RAV4 hybrid with its eCVT, the Tucson uses a real automatic, so when you accelerate, it actually feels like a normal car. It does not drone, it just shifts gears and goes. It is smooth, quiet, and delivers around 36 miles per gallon in combined driving. But here's where the spreadsheet starts bullying your emotions. Hyundai dealers know the hybrid is the good one, so they are much less likely to discount it. And while a Tucson hybrid might cost a little less than a RAV4 hybrid up front, you have to look at the back end of the math, depreciation. Historically, Hyundai vehicles lose their value faster than Toyota or Honda. If you buy a Tucson today for $38,000 and your neighbor buys an RAV4 for $38,000, in 5 years, your neighbor's Toyota will be worth significantly more on the trade-in market. You also need to call your insurance agent before buying. While the new Tucson has push-button start and engine immobilizers, meaning it is not affected by the infamous Kia Boys theft trend, some insurance algorithms are still aggressively punishing the Hyundai and Kia badges depending on your zip code. The Tucson Hybrid SEL Convenience is an outstanding vehicle, offering more features, a better warranty, and a quieter cabin than the RAV4. But it only makes financial sense if you plan to keep it for a long time to absorb that depreciation hit, and if your insurance rates do not erase your fuel savings. The Kia Sportage shares its skeleton, engines, and hybrid systems with the Hyundai Tucson, but it wears a completely different suit. Where the Tucson looks like an alien spacecraft with its hidden grille lights, the Sportage looks wider, blockier, and more aggressive. Because it rides on a stretched wheelbase, the rear legroom in the Sportage is absolutely massive. You can easily fit rear-facing child seats without the front passenger having to eat the dashboard. The cargo space is class-leading, and the dual panoramic curved displays inside the cabin make the Honda CR-V look like it was designed in 2012. And if you enjoy watching the car market find new and creative ways to separate normal people from their money, subscribe here and check out the second channel too, because apparently one channel was not enough punishment for my free time. Just like the Tucson, the Sportage buying advice comes down to the powertrain. Avoid the base gas engine. It is sluggish, loud, and not efficient enough to justify the lack of power. The Sportage Hybrid EX is the sweet spot of the entire lineup. You get the punchy 1.6-liter turbo hybrid setup, excellent fuel economy, and a cabin that feels $10,000 more expensive than it is. But you will run into the exact same financial hurdles. The Kia badge carries the same steep depreciation curve, and you must verify your insurance premiums before signing any paperwork. Kia dealers can also be notoriously difficult to deal with. While Mazda and Nissan dealers are practically begging you to take cars off their lots, some Kia dealers are still acting like they hold the keys to a rare Ferrari, slapping mandatory add-ons and nitrogen tire fees on their hybrid inventory. If you can find a Sportage hybrid at MSRP or slightly below, with no forced dealer accessories, it is arguably the most well-rounded, comfortable, and tech-heavy family vehicle in the class. But the moment a dealer tries to mark it up by $2,000, you walk away. A marked-up Kia is one of the fastest ways to guarantee you will be upside down on your loan for the next 5 years. So, where does this leave the regular buyer who just wants a good deal on a compact SUV? The smartest car is not the one that wins the brochure, it's the one that does not punish the buyer financially after the excitement wears off. For the 10-year owner, the choice is obvious. Buy the Mazda CX-5. You trade modern screens and legroom for a bulletproof financial decision in a market full of fragile engines. For the Snowbelt family, Grab the Subaru Forester Premium. It holds its value remarkably well, gives you real all-wheel drive, and keeps you safe as long as you can tolerate the sluggish acceleration. For maximum space and hybrid efficiency, look hard at the Hyundai Tucson or Kia Sportage, but you must negotiate ruthlessly. Keep them long enough to outrun the steep depreciation and call your insurance agent before signing anything. And for the commuter who just wants a plush ride with zero long-term anxiety, lease the Nissan Rogue. Let Nissan eat the depreciation, enjoy those incredible seats, and hand the keys back before that variable compression engine becomes your nightmare. The US car market is finally cooling off, and you no longer have to beg a Toyota dealer to sell you a car at sticker price. But the alternatives require you to be ruthless with your spreadsheet. Would you take the heavy discount on the proven Mazda, or would you risk the depreciation on the Korean hybrids just to get the better technology? Let me know down in the comments.